So anything that you can imagine for property will be sold at the Georgia auction. And you can look that up and see exactly what you're going to bid on prior to going to that auction.
Hey, thank you for joining us. This is Tax Sales in Georgia, Tips for Success at the Live Auction. We're here with Ted Thomas, who is the tax lien and tax deed authority, and he's going to be giving us some of these tips. Ted, let's get started. If people want to invest in Georgia, first of all, are they buying a tax lien or a tax deed?
Georgia sells redeemable deeds. They sell tax deeds. They do that in all 159 counties.
The redeemable deeds, is that a little different than a normal tax deed, Ted?
Normally, a state will be selling a deed to the property. In Texas and in Georgia, so we're talking about Georgia today, Georgia sells a tax deed, which is a document. They're going to sell the document at auction. So the document will go out to the person that bid on it. The person that bid will give their money to the county. However, when they sell that deed, it's a redeemable deed in Georgia for up to 1 year. So that means that the property owner, if you bought it today, has 365 days that they can come in and they can buy that deed back from you. So if you were raising your hand at that auction, you bought a deed, you took it home, you put it on your desk or put it in your safe deposit box, you just leave it there. And what happens during that year, the clock just goes tick. Anytime during that period of time, the property owner can come forward. When they come forward, they say, no, I want to buy my deed back. So they pay you whatever you paid plus a giant 20% return. So that's a redeemable deed, and that's what they sell in the state of Georgia.
Now, Ted, you talked about raising your hand at the auction. Now we're getting to the good stuff. But before you get to that point, you're raising your hand. There's lots to know. First, you got to find the auction rules. In any auction in Georgia, there's going to be auction rules. How do you locate the rules, Ted? Where do you find those?
In Georgia, as in all states, you're going to find the rules for the auction at the local county, okay? So all the rules are made by the state legislature. So in Georgia, they're going to have a state legislature make the rules. Then they're going to push those rules down to all 159 counties. And then either the sheriff or an ex officio sheriff or the treasurer will execute those rules. You can go to the county records and get them. I did a little research when we were talking today, and sure enough, here's a little brochure. The booklet explains all the rules for the auction. So many of these counties will make rules and they'll pass this on to you. So this is 12 pages. The website will have many pages and show you everything that you need to know about an auction in the state of Georgia. But it will talk about the specific rules, whether in Gwinnett County or whatever county that you're going to buy in. You want to go to that county and find out the express and exact rules for that county.
Can you give us a sense of what some of the information are? What are some of the rules that we might see on those?
The first thing you're going to find out is when the auction's going to be. Second thing you're going to find out is how many properties are going to be up for auction. Next thing you're going to find out is a list of all the properties that are going to come up. Next thing you'll be able to find out is what's owed on each one of the properties and more than likely an assessed value on each one of the properties. And then, so they'll go on and give almost every little detail that you need. If you really dig into it, you can find out it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and it was built in such and such a time and whatever. So you can get into every detail of what's going on at the auction. It'll also mention whether there's a mortgage on the property or there's not a mortgage on the property. So in Georgia, they use redeemable deeds when they're selling, and they use mortgages as the lending document.
Now, you mentioned the auction list, Ted, and that's another really important thing, the auction list. What type of properties are on the auction list typically?
It's everything that would be involved in traditional real estate and then some. For example, there'd be single-family homes, there'd be residential lots, there'd be small farms, small apartment properties, vacant residential lots, everything that you can imagine a property. Now, Georgia is a rural state, so there'll be actually farms that they're going to sell, and there'll be open rangeland that's going to be sold. So anything that you can imagine for property will be sold at the Georgia auction, and you can look that up and see exactly what you're going to bid on prior to going to that auction.
And how often does Georgia have their tax sales?
That's the best part of Georgia. Georgia has 159 counties, and all the counties don't do an auction every month, but some of them do. So you want to check the county that you're planning to go to see if they're going to have one. But so it'll be up to the county treasure when they're going to have that auction. But I'd say a good 25% to 50% of the counties will have auctions every month.
Another important thing when you're at a live auction, Ted, is the bidding strategy. With in-person bidding, I know it's important to know what method the auctioneer is going to be using. So do you know the typical bidding method in Georgia?
Yeah, it's very simple. The auction starts at very close to the back taxes, and the first bid will be something above that. So they'll start out with a minimum bid, which is going to be at least the back taxes, because that's what the treasurer wants. They want to collect the back taxes. And then the next bid will be up, and it'll just continue up until the bidding stops. All right, so the key is you want to buy the property at the best and closest bargain that you can. So you want to look ahead of time and see what your exit strategy is going to be so that you'll know how high to bid. Some people just keep bidding until they win. You don't want to win. What if you spent too much money and it was more money than the property is worth? That does happen.
Absolutely. And we are talking about live auctions, Ted, and that can get really exciting. So what can you tell people about how to keep their composure in the room during that auction?
I don't know about composure so much as I know about be careful with your money. If you're going to go to an auction, the auctions in the state of Georgia are live auctions. In other words, you're going to stand on the courthouse steps or inside a building in a county room or something like that, in a big auditorium or something like that in a county building. And when the auction starts, there'll be a few people, sometimes 20, sometimes 200 people there at the auction. All right. The whole objective is to make a bargain and not spend too much money. And if you're there to win the auction because you just want to win and be the winning bidder, that's a mistake. You want to have done your research a day ahead of time. So you talked about composure. So let's go back to, let's do our homework. Let's go in the day or two before. Let's go and look at the property and get boots on the ground. Let's figure out what the condition of the property is. Let's figure out what the condition of the title is. Then let's figure out what we're going to sell it for. In other words, look around. Okay, is it in a good neighborhood? So is the property in good condition? Is the neighborhood in good condition? What are the prices in the neighborhood? Are they all 100,000? Then you certainly don't want to bid 100,000. So you want to bid and keep it low so that you can buy it low so that you have margin and be able to sell it.
All right, Ted, I'm at the auction. I've taken your advice. I got a piece of property. I'm either going to get 20% or I'm going to get to keep that property if that homeowner doesn't redeem. So let's talk the last thing, the exit strategy here. Can you share with us, if I get the property, what are some of your favorite exit strategies?
Well, my exit strategy has always been the same. It's very narrow cast. I'm going to use a lot of ways to make that exit strategy. I'm going to go and spend a lot of time researching the records on the property, a lot of time researching the property itself, time researching the neighborhood, time researching what is the pricing that property should sell for. Then I'm going to try to buy the property at 20 or 30 cents on the dollar. So if I think it's worth $100,000, I'm going to try to stop my bidding at $20,000 or $30,000. In other words, I want to have margin in the deal. So if the property is worth $100,000 or the neighborhood's worth $100,000, I'm going to try to buy it at $20,000 or $30,000. Now keep in mind, if you're going to buy properties at tax defaulted auctions, they're used and they're abused. That means they probably haven't been taken care of very well. So if I bought it for 30 cents on the dollar, I'm not going to try and get 100 cents on the dollar. Forget that. I'm probably going to try and get 40 or 50 cents on the dollar, and that's my margin. It's not a very big margin, but 20% of $100,000 is a good paycheck for me. So I want to make sure that I'm buying at the right price and not pushing the price up, and making sure that I'm leaving money for someone else that might want to fix it up. Guys and gals like to fix it up. There's people like to do renovations on property. There's other people that like to make mediocre houses look into big fancy mansions and whatever. So I want to buy it low, and then I want to sell it low, and I want to sell it quickly. All right, now if I'm going to sell it, I know that the marketplace is going to vary. It's going to go up and down. So I'm going to make sure I've already considered, am I going to use seller financing, which is another whole subject we're not prepared to cover right now. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.